I want to reward folks who came in on time. So let's get started. Thank you so much for joining for popping into the Q&A. So if you're just joining and you want to pop a note into the Q&A and let us know where you're zooming from, gives us a chance of where you are, and gives you a chance to understand Q&A, that section, because that's going to be important later on. So let's jump into it, shall we? Okay, so 1 minute. All right, housekeeping. For those of you who've been living under a rock, this is Zoom. For the past 2 years, this is Zoom. You're on mute, but I love questions. Questions are exciting for me. So please write down your questions in Q&A at any point in time during the presentation. And then when I'm done, I'll go through every single question and answer it. So we'll stay as long as you've got questions. Put the questions in the Q&A, and always, if you have an idea of how we can make this better or what other topic you'd like to cover, please let us know. We do a number of these and we want to make sure they're useful to you. So who am I? My name is Kathleen Toomey. I'm Vice President of Marketing for the Riverwoods Group. And basically, I've been in marketing for about 30 years, and half of them in the senior living industry, working for Riverwoods. I helped build our community here in Exeter, and we have grown ever since. My passion for changing the way the world thinks about aging has led me to start a podcast. So if you do listen to podcasts, check it out. It's called seniorityauthority.org, available on Apple, iTunes. And the goal of Seniority Authority is to help people get smarter about growing older. So we'll have more on that at the end. But if you like podcasts and you like to learn, it's I interview phenomenal experts. So who is Riverwoods? For those of you who aren't familiar with us, we are the largest family of nonprofit continuing care retirement communities in northern New England. That's a lot to say, but it's a concept that was created out of a dream that two very smart women had, that they wanted to have community healthcare and peace of mind the second half of life. So in 1994, they opened the very first Riverwoods in Exeter, and soon realized that they had caught on to a concept that a lot of people were interested in. Today in Exeter, we have 3 campuses on 200 acres. We also have a campus in Manchester, New Hampshire, which is adjacent to a 600-acre nature conservancy. And our newest community in Durham opened in 2019. Then we have something called SPE, which is our very official term for someplace else. Our goal is to bring this way of life to as many people as possible and to try to make it as affordable as possible. So we are always looking for new opportunities for growth, both in physical growth and growth in ways to serve people that we don't even know yet. So we're experimenting with a lot of technology and new ways to serve. So there will be more innovation coming down the pike. Retirement communities. And primarily, I'm going to go through what CCRCs are across the country. So I'm not specifically talking about Riverwoods. I'm not specifically talking about New Hampshire. I'm going to talk about it in general. And in the end, if you're interested, we do have a booklet that I've put together. It's about a 30-page booklet. You can take and go anywhere in the country and ask these questions of any CCRC, and that should help you make your decision. So today we're going to talk about setting the table for the conversation. What is new about aging today? We're going to explain the CCRC concept, talk about why it's time to learn about CCRCs. We're going to really get into the contract and ratings. This is a very fact-based presentation, a lot about contracts, not a lot about the exploratory side and the how you fit side, but we'll get into that later. Okay. Why are we talking about aging? Why is it important? The reason is because today, aging is different than it ever has been in this industry. There is no other time in our country where we have so many people aging into retirement. So this is a chart of US demographics. You can see that today we're climbing up the stair step of the boomers aging into retirement. Today in the United States, 10,000 people turn 65 every day, and that continues for next 15 years. So we have more people in retirement than ever before. So that's different. What else is different? We're living longer. So if you live to be 65, you're going to live to 64, generally. If you make it to 64, you're probably going to live to 92. These are actuarial projections. Individual results may vary, as they say. So you're living much longer than any prior generation. So that's different. That's a different thing. What else is different about how we age right now? Now, more older adults are aging alone than ever before. And more of them are women. 37% are women versus 19% of men. And why is that? Because of the increase in the divorce rate and because of the increase of people choosing to age alone, as well as natural death. So we have more people alone than ever before. That not only impacts how you live, but also the quality of your life. So this is an incredible fact. Adults over age 75 only spend 8% of the time communicating. And it's a drop of 50% compared to age 65. So just think about that. You're communicating half as much in 10 years. And if you are alone, then that is going to drop even further. So the challenge that we have, older adults, more of them living longer, but more of them alone and not communicating, not connected. That has an impact. Today, we have an epidemic of loneliness in adults. Not only are we faced with growing numbers of older adults, what's happening in the workforce is that there's an inverted triangle. So we have, demographically speaking, fewer people in the workforce than ever before. So as our retirement population is climbing, the working population is dropping. You can see this, 1950, there were 7 people for every retiree. In 1980, there were 5 people in the workforce for every retiree. In 2011, that dropped to 4. In 2050, it dropped to 2. Now, that is not people in the long-term care industry. It is people in the workforce. So what does that mean to you? Maybe your plan is you're going to stay home and bring in care. If that's your plan, it may be more costly and harder to get help than you anticipate. So if that's your plan, my recommendation would be to make sure that you research the company that you want to be with. The other difference about aging is that 70% of us over 65 are going to need some form of long-term care. So the good news about where we are today is that we have the ability to have new knees, new hips, and keep going. 70% of us are going to need some form of long-term care. So for a lot of people that I know that are saying, well, I'm healthy, I'm never going to need it. My recommendation to you is think about this 70%. If you want to play the numbers, that's fine. However, many of us are going to need long-term care. The question is, how long do we need it? And why do we need it? So 20% of us are going to need long-term care for more than 5 years. 7% of women will need nursing care for more than 5 years. So nursing care is a higher level of care. And those are just some numbers to put in your head, because we all want to believe that we are going to be the exception and that we're healthy and we won't need it. One of the messages I'm going to be giving you during this presentation, and one of the things I compliment you on for being in this presentation, is that you need to plan ahead. And you are planners, every single one of you that is on this Zoom right now, because if you weren't planners, you wouldn't be interested in learning. But you're interested in learning more, and that's why you're here. So my suggestion to you is, don't let a lack of imagination fail you. Think about long term, 10 years out. What happens if? That's the kind of thinking that makes sense. Okay. All right. So if we know that we're going to live long, and we know that there's more of us than ever before, and we know that 70% of us are going to need some form of long-term care, you would think, if we're planners, that we have looked at the cost of this. That's not actually accurate, because only 58% of adults underestimate how much nursing home costs. 31% underestimate the cost of assisted living. So of course, it's easy when you're going on vacation, or you want to buy a car, you want to buy a new phone, you look, you shop around. I don't know anybody that is at age 50 or 60 looking around at all the nursing homes and assisted living saying, let's see where I want to go and how much it's going to cost. It's not something we're really looking forward to. So we don't think about the cost. Well, I've done the work for you. This is a Genworth cost of care study. And I'm just picking out a couple of states here. In Mass, the annual cost of skilled nursing is $162,400. In New Hampshire, where we are, it's over $135,000. This is not private rooms. So just an average cost. It is not inexpensive. And some people would say, Medicare will cover that. We'll talk about that. The other thing that impacts cost is as we get older, we are more prone to certain diseases. So as I think most people know, 32% of people over age 85 have Alzheimer's. It is a disease that hits people as they get older. And it is costly to care for Alzheimer's. What happens is, oftentimes, if you don't have a plan, then you rely on family and loved ones. And that's fine. Just realize that if you are relying on your family or loved ones to care for you, they have an impact. An average of 33% of income is lost by people who are caregiving, because being out, not being able to be fully present at work, this is the average. So the impact of you not planning and relying on a family member is they're negatively impacted financially. Now, maybe you've had the conversation with them and they're good to go. They understand that. If so, that's fine. I am all about making a plan. So if this is your plan and they know it and you know it, that's great. But if you haven't made a plan and you're relying on someone to jump in, understand that will be an impact. Now, hopefully a number of you have long-term care insurance. It's a terrific bridge. And we've had a tremendous amount of turmoil in the long-term care industry recently. So in the year 2000, there were 125 insurers offering long-term care policies. Today, it's less than 15, 20 years later. And the reason is because we really didn't anticipate, not only did you not anticipate, the industry didn't anticipate people were going to live this long and that they were going to need long-term care so much. The good news is today, all of that has shaken out, and the companies that are in this business are in this business to stay. And there's a lot more stability in terms of renewals and fees and the rest of that. So that is great. We consider long-term care to be a bridge to the future. It provides a fixed financial cost for a certain amount of time, but it doesn't answer the question of where you are going to get your service. Now, some people still believe that Medicare is going to cover their needs. Today, in order to qualify for a Medicare stay, you need a 3-night stay in a hospital, and you have to be admitted, not under observation. So today, you can go into the hospital, stay overnight, and they can consider you as under observation, which is not technically admitted. It doesn't count towards your Medicare if you're under observation. So if you have a 3-night qualifying stay in a hospital, then you can get your 100 days of a Medicare stay. However, as we all know, hospitals are not encouraging people to stay overnight. So many stays are not Medicare eligible, and assisted living is not Medicare eligible. So there's more private pay need than you may have anticipated. And continuing care retirement communities answer the question of what is the cost? What is the quality? Will there be a bed for me if I need it? And where am I going to get my care? So there was a study done that asked people, why did they not plan ahead? And stop me if any of these answers sound familiar. Number one, they didn't want to admit that they needed care. Number two, the timing of long-term care was unexpected. Well, of course, because you're not ever going to plan to need long-term care. Number three, this is very popular among my Irish Catholic family, didn't want to talk about it. We're just going to ignore it, stick our heads in the sand. Four, thought they had more time. And fifth, they hoped the issue would resolve itself, which, you know, that doesn't often happen. You don't often self-heal. But over 50% of both the people receiving care as well as the caregivers felt that they would do something different. If they had what you have, which is the advantage and foresight of planning ahead, they would make a different plan. So that's your gift today. You have that ability. You have the chance to answer questions, do your research, and congratulations to you. So let's talk about this awkwardly named concept. CCRCs are also called life care plans, communities, life care communities. And they've been around for 100 years. And there are 1,900 across the country, mostly in systems. And the vast majority of them are not for profit. They're either started by faith-based groups or affinity-based groups, or like Riverwoods, community-based. And they're a very small number of for-profits, but they're incredibly financially stable over the last 100 years. And now we're talking in general, CCRCs are first and foremost an insurance product. So it looks like you're walking into a beautiful over 55 community with apartments and amenities and cottages, etc. but is actually an insurance product. When you join a CCRC, you sign a contract and the organization agrees to provide your housing and nursing needs for your life. You don't own your apartment. You live there, and the contracts are regulated by each state. Here in New Hampshire, it's Department of Health and Human Services. Financial performance is also reported to the state, and you should be able to check the organization's finances on their website. It should be posted. The government considers that you are prepaying and pre-insuring for your future long-term care needs, which you are. So a portion of your one-time entrance fee and monthly fee can be tax deductible. Now, it's an insurance choice, it's a smart financial decision, but it's also a lifestyle choice. So here's the kicker. You have to come in to a CCRC when you are independent, healthy, don't need help. You can come in with diseases, with prognoses, but you come in when you can live safely on your own independently. Once you're here, you have the chance to be free from home maintenance, inside and outside. You have transportation, activities, programs, probably one meal a day, many more increased social opportunities. The big thing is, in my opinion, you are in control of your choices. What do I mean by that? It means that in the latter part, this next chapter of your life, you have made the big choices about if you need care, where you're going to receive it, what it's going to cost, who's going to provide it, and what is the community around you going to look like. So I think that's important. I happen to be a control enthusiast, so I like to be in control of things. And when you get older, as we all get older, what you want to control changes from when you were 16 years old and control meant getting the keys to the car, when you were in your early 20s or 30s and control meant starting your own relationships and building your own identity and family. And as you are older, control means understanding that the choices that you have in the future, you have made, you have not let them wait until a crisis. Because the vast majority of people do not plan ahead and they wait till a crisis, and then there are not many choices. So, as I said, nationally, enter when you're independent and can live safely on your own. You have to be at least 62. And generally, there are about 4 levels of care: independent, assisted, memory support, and nursing care. And residents, once you're in a CCRC, you can go back and forth as your care needs change. So if you have a tough winter, you get pneumonia, you need a little help, you can go in, get stronger, come back down the hall to your independent home. Services and amenities are provided at every level. And there's typically 2 fees. One is an entrance fee, and a portion of that can be refundable. So some CCRCs have, like Riverwoods, has a 90% or an 80% refundable or 70% refundable entrance fee. And there's a monthly fee. And a portion of both of those are tax deductible if you choose. You have the chance to meet new friends, get more increased social interaction, and all nonprofits in New Hampshire, at least, and generally through the country, have a benevolence clause. So if you outlive your assets through no fault of your own, you can apply to the community to carry you. So what do services look like? So generally there'll be a flexible dining program in independent, inside and outside maintenance, housekeeping, laundry, transportation. There's also could be access to fitness classes, programming, committees, healthcare. Your utilities and property taxes are covered. There can be generally a wellness center in there. So one way to think about a CCRC is it's one building or community that houses multiple levels of care. And the majority of folks that move in are independent. And I just want to pause on that. Independent doesn't mean you don't have any diseases or illnesses. We know everyone, as you get older, tends to deal with multiple chronic conditions. Some CCRCs will disqualify you if you have certain conditions. Some are open to that. You have to check each CCRC to find out. But you can come in generally with a diagnosis, with some issues. It's just that you have to be able to live safely on your own initially. I'm just going to pause here for a moment and just remind you that there is Q&A that you can tap into at any point in this presentation and pop in a question. So now we're getting to the nitty-gritty, the contract stuff. Okay, so what we say in this industry is if you've seen one CCRC contract, you've seen one. There are so many different variations. And for an industry that's been around for 100 years, you can't blame us. But generally, it can be broken down into 3 different types: A, B, and C. These are the 3 different buckets, if you will. Type A is the all-inclusive. That is the kind of Cadillac. So there's an entrance fee and it will be refundable or not, depends. There's a monthly fee. You have full access to healthcare. And generally there's no increase in fee when you move to healthcare. Your insurance is covered. And this is where most of the not-for-profits are. And let me make one note, is that a lot of people ask, what about the cost? What determines the cost? Is it my age? Is it my income? Has nothing to do with your age or your income. The cost of your home depends on the size of the home. And that is consistent across the country. So if you want a large freestanding cottage with a 2-car garage, that's going to be more costly on the entrance fee and monthly fee side than if you choose a studio. So that is consistent. Sorry. Let's go to the other side. Type C is a rental. So with a type C, often there is no entrance fee. There is a monthly fee. Again, that is dependent on the apartment size. You have limited access to healthcare and no insurance. So this is where more of the for-profits are, although there are some not-for-profits. And here you can almost do a month-to-month. It could be adjacent to a healthcare center, but not a guaranteed, you don't have a guaranteed spot in the health center, nor do you have a discount when you move to the health center. It's a different community, different cost. Type B is in the middle. It's defined insurance. So there is an entrance fee. It will generally be less than a type A. There is a monthly fee, also generally less than a type A. But then when you move to healthcare, your costs will go up. Your costs are going to be discounted off of the market rate. So with a type B, you're still getting the benefit of insurance. You're still not paying market rate. And you do have that included access to healthcare. So you know there is a bed for you. Also, mostly not-for-profits. So these are the big buckets, and there's many more iterations and many more details, but I just wanted to give you an overview. If you are visiting a CCRC, they may not tell you they're type A, type B, or type C, so make sure to ask. Why am I and why are we so passionate about CCRCs? Here we are. We're doing a presentation. We do this probably a couple times a year across the country. We want people to understand the CCRC option because we and I really believe it is the best way to be 78 or 83 or 94. You're living in community. You have made control over your choices, and you're not going to be suffering from that epidemic of loneliness. You are going to get good health care. You're going to get good meals. You're going to have access to education, intellectual stimulation, artistic stimulation. It's a great way to live. But why is it more important now? I believe fans of Malcolm Gladwell will recognize the tipping point. And I believe CCRCs are at a tipping point after their 100-year history. Suddenly they're the breakout star because of demographics, because what's happening in our world today. Number one, we have better healthcare. That also means increased medical costs over our longer life, higher lifetime medical and long-term care costs. The good news is we can get a new knee, a new hip, keep going, but it's going to be more expensive for a longer period of time. Also, the rest of the world has changed. So our kids had kids later, traveled more, got more education. There are dual career couples. So in the 1950s, most women weren't in the workforce. They could run around the corner to check on grandma and grandpa. But today, you likely have the women working, the men working, raising their kids later in life, busier, and they have less time to check on the grandparents, and they're generally farther away. So they are across the country and they're following their careers. And it's harder for them to have that oversight. The other thing is you've changed, right? We have changed. We want more out of life than waiting for the grandkids to call. We want to be in control of our own destiny. We want to have adventures. Just think of the fact that at 65, when Social Security was enacted in 1940, the life expectancy was 65. Today, it's 85, 92. You have 20 more years. Or as Joe Coughlin from the MIT Age Lab says, you have 8,000 more days after your official retirement age. What are you going to do at that time? You've got a lot of opportunity, a lot to do. So if you are interested in a CCRC, there are two things you need to do to enter. One is a healthcare assessment. Depends on the community, and it varies greatly. As I mentioned earlier, check to see if diseases are excluded, but you provide your medical history and you do a medical and cognitive assessment. So that's just to make sure you can live independently on your own. The impact of COVID is that for many people, they may delay doing the healthcare assessment until you are ready to move in. So it's true of Riverwoods that now you can join our future resident list, our wait list, without a health assessment because we're minimizing the interpersonal contact with this impact of COVID. The second thing you have to do is just do a financial assessment. So that's generally saying your age, your income, your assets, and what style of apartment or home you'd be interested in. So remember I said, it all depends. The cost depends on the size of the place. Organizations will qualify you for a specific floor plan, and they should run different scenarios. And that's something that you can share with your financial advisor because they will make assumptions about your spending, etc. So that's also a very nice, unexpected benefit of doing this is that you have some projected spending over your lifetime, which is fun to take a look at. If you're interested in learning more about Riverwoods, about any of our 3 communities, I would encourage you to sign up for a tour, attend an online open house, attend an online lunch and learn. And we have many of these that we have online every single month. Fill out what we call our confidential data profile, which is our financial information, and we'll run the numbers. That commits you to nothing. You can take a look, you can walk around, you can have a tour, you can fill out a CDP, and you can think about it. But at least you're putting that plan in place and you have made that decision that, okay, this is something I want to investigate. And spend time. This is a huge decision. This is a big change, and we understand that. And it's not to be taken lightly. There's lots of other things that you will be doing if you choose to move into a CCRC, like downsizing, etc. And we can help you through that. For Riverwoods, we request 10% of your entrance fee to join the wait list. Currently, we have wait lists at Riverwoods Exeter, at Riverwoods Durham, but we don't have one at Riverwoods Manchester. There's some openings there. You will want to check to see the CCRC that you're interested in. Is there a wait list? If so, how long? Because that's another impact of more people aging into retirement, is the numbers are bigger. There are more wait lists than we have experienced prior. I've been in this business for 15 years, and this is really at a tipping point. So wrapping up, I think you have 5 options, 5 choices. So let's go through them. Number 1, you can stay home and be an immortal teenager. This is a very popular plan. This is a person that says, I'm going to stay home until one day I wake up dead. I would love to do that. Everyone would love to do that. It doesn't often happen. So staying home and not making a plan is still not making a plan. Number 2, you can have the bunker mentality. Stay home and bring in services. So your home is your castle. You bring in snowplow, you bring in landscaping, you're bringing the roofer, the plumber, the housekeeper, and when you need help, you're going to bring in care. If that is your plan, do me a favor and research the local health home care agencies in your community. Understand the limits of what they can do. Most of them provide housekeeping, light housekeeping assistance, assistance bathing and dressing. There's a lot of limitations about what they can do with medications. So just understand that and understand the cost implication. 3, you can cohabitate, which is great if it's your first boyfriend or girlfriend and in your 20s. But when you are 75 and your kids are, or you're 80 and your kids are 60, that's a little different. It doesn't work for everybody. So if your plan is to move in with your kids or to have your kids move in with you, tell them, let them know. I trust me, your adult children are thinking about this. Be the brave ones. Have that conversation. Talk to them about what you learned today, about what you're thinking about. Maybe cohabitation will work for you, but you have to have the conversation to find out. Your 4th option is go straight into assisted living or nursing home when you need it. If this is a choice, it's often because it's a crisis and you have to go somewhere. Don't let that be you. Make yourself a plan. Don't let circumstances decide your life. The 5th choice is the CCRC, which is having a plan, not paying market rate for healthcare, having community, and having a choice in your future. So my biggest point is, if you want a decision and choice about your future life, you have to use your voice. You have to talk to people, talk to your kids, make a plan. In my podcast, Seniority Authority, the first interview that I did was Dr. Robert Waldinger, who is brilliant. He's at Harvard. He runs their adult study, the study for adult development. This is an 83-year long study that's been going on. He's like the third director. And they boiled this 83, it says 75, but it's currently 83 years. There's one thing that keeps us happier and healthier longer: good relationships. Keep us happier and healthier, period. They looked at marital status, financial status, children, spiritual practice, fitness, nutrition, socialization, and good relationships made all the difference. So what I referred to earlier about communication, the one thing you need to do is make sure you have a network of good relationships. It is so important. Okay, the bottom line, in my opinion, true independence means you have to plan ahead for when you need support. Research your costs and your options. Share what you've decided with family and advisors. Don't let fear of the future prevent you from planning ahead. And if you want a choice, use your voice. Okay, this is the Insider's Guide we'll be providing to everybody who participates today. And I think, here's my podcast, seniorityauthority.org. This podcast is not about me. It's about the experts that I have found nationally that answer questions on isolation, insurance, downsizing, dementia. It's I have some phenomenal guests, so please check it out. It's very valuable. Okay, and now questions. So I'm going to go into the chat. Thank you all for hanging in there for that long presentation. And I am going to start answering questions. So, all righty, let's start with the first one. Okay, what does flexible dining look like at Riverwoods? So thank you very much. We have a flexible dining program, and by that, years ago, we had one meal plan. You ate dinner at a specific time, and now we have evolved so that there are dining points that you use. So you can choose to use a little bit for lunch, more at dinner. You can skip dinner. You can have dinner, 4 nights, have lunch when you want it. It's really eating what you want when you want. So it's much more free than our traditional, than our former package. Okay. Another question. Hi, we hear there's a 7-year waiting list at Riverwoods. How does that play into a decision to commit? So, good question. There are different waiting lists. Let's talk Riverwoods Exeter. This is our largest community with 3 separate campuses and 40 different floor plans, not 14, 40. So when you join Riverwoods Exeter waitlist, you join a specific floor plan. And depending on the popularity of that floor plan, that determines how long you wait to come in. Some floor plans are 3 to 4 years, some are 5 to 6, some are 7 and up. And my recommendation is don't wait, because you can join Riverwoods Exeter now. You can say, I'm not interested in coming for 10 years. As long as you are on a future resident list, then we know this is your plan. And if something happens, we have something unexpectedly opens, or you unexpectedly want to come earlier, we can have a conversation and work with you. If you are coming in kind of off the street, without joining our wait list, we're going to focus on our wait list folks first. And there are multiple different floor plans. So not every floor plan is a 7-year wait list. Also, Riverwoods Durham has a much shorter wait list, and Riverwoods Manchester right now has some openings. Okay. Second question, why does Riverwoods Healthcare provide when we have Medicare? Is it like gap insurance? So Medicare will cover certain stays, but Medicare does not cover a lot of things. So people misunderstand Medicare as covering everything, and it doesn't. So notably, it doesn't cover assisted living, which is what you need for a long period of time. Many people need that. Memory care, it does not cover that. So Medicare has very limited coverage. As I said, you get 100 days after a 3-night 3-night hospital stay. So you need to either private pay or move into a community like Riverwoods. Another question, when do you expect in-person visits will be possible? We have in-person visits now, so feel free to plan a tour. We just are continuing to do informational sessions by Zoom because number one, we can reach more people, and it's convenient for a lot of people and they're comfortable with this, but we are accepting people who have been vaccinated to come in for a tour. I have one question that just says Oneonta, New York. So if that's you, can you reframe it as a question? Okay, another, why are monthly costs tied to the size of one's apartment since the added cost of a relatively small number of additional square feet doesn't constitute the bulk of one's lifetime care expense? This is the way that the structure of a CCRC is established, and it's universal across the country. It is a way of providing a mix of homes to different people at different levels. So that is a consistent thing across the country, and it's a way to equitably organize the finances. So that's the answer to that question. It's universal everywhere. One question, what is the entrance fee at Riverwoods? There are 40 different floor plans in Riverwoods Exeter, 7 in Riverwoods Durham, I think 8 in Riverwoods Manchester, and they're all different. So if you are interested in an entrance fee in any one of our communities, just reach out and one of our sales team will let you know. Okay, since this is an insurance contract, what happens if you go financially insecure? The most not-for-profits have, okay. All right, David, can you reframe that question? I'm not sure if you're asking what happens if you personally go financially insecure or you, the organization. So if you can reframe that question and repost it, I will answer it. What type of CCRC contract do we have? We have a type A in Riverwoods Exeter, a type A modified in Riverwoods Durham, and a type B in Riverwoods Manchester. Is there a place that lists all 1,900 CCRCs in the US? Wouldn't that be great? I wish there was, because it would make it a lot easier, but there isn't. Most CCRCs belong to a national organization called Leading Age. So if you go to leadingage.org and then type in your state, you can get a list of CCRCs in your state. Another question, how important is it to find a CCRC near children? That's a really good question. It's a very personal question. If it's important to you to be close to your kids, then yes. And if you know that your kids are basically going to live in that area, then I think you should find a CCRC near your children. If you don't have children, or if you don't care if you're near your children, then choose a CCRC in the area that you like best. What does access to education at Riverwoods mean? UNH. So I think one of the most fascinating things about CCRCs is the intellectual vibrancy that's here. And there are many committees. There's education committees, outreach committees, art committees. And so many of the education sessions are speakers that the residents invite in based on what they want to learn. Programs that we offer through bringing in outside experts and connecting with local universities. So at Riverwoods Durham, if you move to Riverwoods Durham, you are every resident gets a student pass. At UNH, you can audit classes, you can go to the MUB and use all the facilities that students use. So that's kind of a fun thing. One question is, what is the waiting list fee at Riverwoods Durham, and is the 10% fee refundable? Really good question. All of our entrance fees are fully refundable, less $500 as a processing fee. So you can put your money down, change your mind, get it all back, less $500. If you put your money down and you decide to move in, Riverwoods, not all CCRCs, Riverwoods will guarantee 4% interest on your deposit when you move in. And the fees based on how to get onto the wait list are based on the size of the home. So it's 10% of the entrance fee of the size of the home that you want secures your spot on our wait list. Really good question. What if I already have long-term care plan? That's excellent. If you have a long-term care plan, when you fill out your financial form, let us know what that plan is, and we can explain to you how it would work. If you want to keep your long-term care plan, keep it, and when you are in healthcare, it will pay you back. However, if you move into a type A, you don't necessarily need it anymore. If you want to use your long-term care plan, the best place to use it is a type B, which would be Riverwoods Manchester, because then when you move into healthcare, it also pays you back. So it really depends on how long you've had the plan, how robust the plan is, and does it make sense for you personally to keep it or not? And that's a conversation you can have with our sales folks and our financial team. You can say, here it is, and we can explain the impact of what it would be long-term. Okay. When does the Riverwoods Corporation size out of their ability to do what they do well? Well, we hope never. So the Riverwoods Group is the parent or support organization for our operating communities. And part of our goal is to figure out new ways to do what we do more efficiently, more personally, and to do it better and for more people. So we have an active plan to grow again. It is within our ability as a team. It is a bit within our ability financially. It's just a matter of finding the right opportunity, but we don't foresee that. One thing that's different about this industry, and especially for us, is we are in this forever. We don't have an exit strategy. We are going to be here forever. So we need, and we are steeped in planning for the future all the time. Okay. All right. What are the benchmarks of financial strength? Okay. So some of the benchmarks, thank you very much, Bill. Some of the benchmarks of financial strength are: number one, occupancy. What is the occupancy of the CCRC you're looking for? And what has it been for the last 5 years? Occupancy is the lifeblood of the community. So you need to know at what stage the community is in, and what's their occupancy today, and what has it been in the last 5 years. So you want to know that. You want to know days cash on hand. You want to know, are there financial statements available online? You want to know, are they in compliance with their debt covenants with their bank? So these are a number of things you want to check to make sure that the company is financially solvent. Okay. If we place a 10% deposit and later decide not to join, what portion will be returned? Everything other than $500. So you get your full refund less $500 back for any reason, if at any time you change your mind. David, thank you for clarifying your question. What happens if the company becomes insolvent? In 100 years, there have only been 2 companies, 2 CCRCs that have gone bankrupt, and they have been acquired or affiliated with other CCRCs. So we have a 100-year track record within the industry, and this includes, you know, the global financial recession, a lot of different downturns. We ourselves, Riverwoods, is extremely financially stable. We have our debt rated, and we are among the top 3% of financially strong companies, financially strong CCRCs in the US. Question, do you have musical performances? Absolutely, all the time. We have performances, and we have musical groups that our residents put together, ukulele bands, a cappella groups, a barbershop quartet, a chorus. There's lots of opportunities there. Question, are Riverwoods Exeter residents able to audit courses at UNH? Yes, absolutely. Okay, can you please answer more slowly what contract you have and where? Thank you very much. I sometimes talk fast, and I'm trying to be respectful of everyone's time. In Riverwoods Exeter, we have a Type A contract. At Riverwoods Durham, we have a Type A alternate contract, which is a slight modification of a Type A. At Riverwoods Manchester, we have a Type B contract, and that contract is interesting because it is a 70% refundable contract, but it's one of a kind. No other CCRC in New England has this contract where you can use the 70% refundable portion of your entrance fee when you're in healthcare. So that is a really fabulous contract. I would urge you to look closely at that because it's very, very different. I have a question. What percent increases in fees do you have annually? It varies. The past few years, I believe it's been 3%, 3.5%. It goes from 3 to 5%, but generally for the past 5 years, it's around 3%. Question, how many folks in residence? So it depends again on what community you're referring to. At Riverwoods Exeter, we have 400 independent homes. In Riverwoods, Durham, we have 125 homes. And in Riverwoods, Manchester, we have 138. And it's a split between single and married. Interesting question. In your experience, how many CCRCs change ownership on average? Almost none. Ownership is something that, CCRCs are not bought and sold like Twitter over a 10-day period. CCRCs generally are nonprofits and they gather in systems. So there will be systems of CCRCs managed by a board and a leadership team, but they are not bought and sold like commercial companies, like we're not traded on any index. So generally the ownership is very stable, and the only thing that has been happening is more independent CCRCs are finding it hard to be independent on their own. So they are more apt to join in systems, especially now when the healthcare world is so complex. So that's generally what happens. Really good question. What % of your fees go back to your estate when you pass away? So it depends on what contract you've chosen. So if it's a 90% refundable contract, 90% of your original entrance fee goes back to whoever you designate. If it's an 80% refundable contract, 80% of your original entrance fee goes back to whomever you designate. 70% contract, 70% of your original entrance fee goes back to whomever you designate. Would major surgery also be covered by Riverwoods? No. So you have your own physician, you cover your own surgery, you cover your dental, you purchase your own prescriptions. We provide your long-term care costs, the costs that you need when you need long-term care, not surgery. We don't do surgery. We don't practice any kind of surgery. And Riverwoods is a not-for-profit organization in answer to it. So no one owns Riverwoods. We are not-for-profit, charitable 501c3. I think that is all the questions I have. I know we're a little late on time, but I think that's it for questions. I want to thank everybody for participating, and I think, let me just see if I have another slide here. Oh, yes, sorry. If you'd like to schedule a tour or learn more about our wait list, here is the number to reach someone at Riverwoods Exeter. So please come visit us. Thank you so much for being with us today. And I appreciate your attention over this long period of time. Have a wonderful spring. Oh, wait 1 second. One more question. Oh, okay. Thank you. So thanks so much for your patience. Have a great spring, everyone. Bye-bye.